I done glued the pegs in the wrong side. Welcome to the channel, people. If you're new here, I'm Brandi, and today we are making DIY wood decor for your home using a 2x3 and a 1x4. I spent roughly $12-ish on both pieces of wood, and I'm going to get a lot of DIYs out of them, but today I am just going to show you three, and we're going to cut all three up first before we jump into the fun part. The measurements for these DIYs do not necessarily matter. You cut them to really what makes you fuzzy inside and house your tea lights, because we're doing two different tea light holders and we're going to make one, key holding hanging rack. So really it's just, how long do you want your boards? How many tea lights are you housing? Then you cut it to what makes you fuzzy inside, people. It's that simple. There's no science behind it. DIY what makes you happy. You will need one of these bits to create your hole for your tea light in any wood that you're going to make. There are other tools you can use too. I have some of them. It's always a good time when I get out the drill. But for the most part, you will always want to make sure that you clamp whatever you're putting a hole in down onto something to make sure it doesn't go flying anywhere. I am using one of these little plastic ones so that way I get a deeper hole. You can use a real candle, nothing wrong with that. And of course, I can't even hold the 3 blocks up. I do try, people. I do try. We're going to start off. This is going to be a very modern design, and I really love how these turned out. And you do not need me to remind you that you create your tea lights however you want. This is how I did it. And the way that I went about this is I just lined them up, put a thin piece of washi tape over the top to make sure the line was straight down the top so it looked nice, neat, modern. And then I put it around the sides. I didn't go to the bottom. Erased off my pencil marks because I do forget to do that sometimes. Make sure you erase your pencil marks too, okay? Or don't if you don't want to. I'm not trying to tell you what to do, okay? Just calm down. Calm down. I'm using antique Waverly wax for this, and yes, I'm using a paintbrush, and I'm doing it very, very light. Make sure that if you're going to recreate this, that you're not going heavy where the washi tape is. It will bleed underneath. Make sure that your little paintbrush, or if you want to use a napkin or a rag or whatever makes you fuzzy inside, I'm not trying to tell you what to do. You just be careful when you get close to the line so it doesn't bleed. Now, it's not going to be too big of a deal, and here's why. We're going to take some Dixie Belle drop cloth, and we're going to paint a beautiful tan line over the top to give it that modern feel. So all I'm doing is taking some more thick, well, this is thick, not some more. The other one was thin. You get what I'm saying, right? Anyhow, we're taking thick washi tape, and we're going to put over the top on the opposite way. So this way we are just leaving our little tiny line exposed with the raw wood still, and then we're going to paint over that. And I'm using a tiny brush and being very careful to not go completely around, and making sure that there's not too much paint on it so it doesn't bleed. If you want, you can take some Mod Podge and go over this and make sure that that will cover any extra bleeding. I did not want to do that. I was confident that I could handle not putting too much paint on there to create too much of a bleed, and this did just fine. I do recommend, though, try and take your painter's tape or washi tape or whatever you're using for this. If you're going to do a design like this, try and take it off before it dries. Sometimes if you wait till it dries, it will get stuck in there. And then I just sealed this up with some 2x Rust-Oleum, and that was it. These are the 2 apple barrel plaid colors I am using to enhance this piece of wood. I did beat this. I beat this board up. I sawed it up. I beat it with a hammer. Like, yeah, I rustic did it up. And to add some, we're going to put some highlights in this, and that's what the two colors are for. I am using some water and just wetting the brush and being careful to not saturate the wood and try and stay inside of the natural wood lines. As you can see, I'm trying not to go over them. So this way, when we start adding in, I'm just using Waverly's antique wax. I really like this wax because I feel like you can get so many different variations of color out of it, and it's very versatile in my opinion. I really like the product. Anyhow, once you get your layered wax on there really well, you can continue going over and just adding more highlights with the paint like this, and then make sure you do get in all them little grooves and seal it, and you're all done. For this next part, it would be a good idea to say you need all these things to make this happen. It is not extremely complicated, but it does take a little bit of patience. But if you want to create something unique to yourself and your home and however you want. Now, I'm reselling these items just in case you're wondering what's happening to them. That's what's happening to them. I like to build things and, put my beauty out in the world. It's my beauty. If you don't think it's beauty, you just keep your opinions to yourself, okay? Listen, I'm here for inspiration. You be nice to me. Anyhow, where were we at? So, we are just taking our 3 pieces of board and we're going to make a little shelf one here. And I'm lining them all up to make little marks for our dowels because we want to drill little holes in them to make sure that we can have a good tight bond. So to start with our holes on the side, I am clamping the pieces of wood down and then drilling the holes where I marked them in the sides. You want to make sure these are deep enough that you can, on each side, I would say at least 1/4 of an inch to half an inch, depending on how much wood you have. But, you do you. I'm not here to tell you how to do your DIYs. This makes me fuzzy inside. I'm pretty positive this is not going nowhere. I then take the dowels just to be safe, and put it in the hole, make sure it's, all good. And once I have all my little spots, cut, I then just come in and start chipping away with my little wire cutters. Depending on how thick the dowel is, now you can actually get little dowels already, or little, I forget what they're called. They might be called dowels. I can't remember at this particular moment. I'm having a brain fart. That you can purchase them at Home Depot or Home Depot. I should probably delete all that out, but I'm gonna keep rolling with this anyhow. But as always, I can't do anything without problems. I done glued the pegs in the wrong side. If that happens to you, people, do not stress. Quickly notice it. Get yourself a pair of needle nose pliers, grab your dowels, and pluck them back out. Okay, be mindful of doing it with your finger. You'll get the wood glue, it'll get sticky, it'll get messy. Okay, let's move on. Now that I got everything in the right holes, I am just going to carefully attach everything, pushing it together, making sure to clear up. You want to definitely clear up your wood glue when you do this stuff, because depending on if you're staining it or whatever, it's not going to stain well. It's not going to be pretty. So just make sure. I'm painting this, so I'm not worrying about it, but this is what it looked like when I had everything all clamped together. This is, it's a monstrosity, but this works. Like, it's holding my shelf together. It's keeping all the pieces together. You're going to definitely want to let that dry for 24 hours. And I'm coming back with some 80 grit sandpaper to knock off all those sharp edges. I also plan on de-stressing this very harshly. So, well, maybe medium-ish. I don't know. But right now, in my mind, I think it's harshly. So, you let me know. You don't have to. If you like your sharp edges, leave it alone. I am then going to put a layer of this flat black Rust-Oleum spray paint on here. So those of you who like spray paint, I haven't forgot about you. When it was all dry, I then took the 80 grit sandpaper again and distressed it. I distressed everything, every little, well, not every little thing. I mean, let me know, do you think this is, I think this is heavy to me, you know, compared to what I usually distress. Let me know, do you think it's medium heavy? I'd like to hear your opinion on it. Now we're just going to finish this up. I am going to tie in with the whole farmhouse rustic motif and add some of this rope from Dollar Tree. This next part is a preference. I like to add E6000 or Gorilla Glue gel whenever I am stapling something like this on. It makes me feel fuzzy inside, especially since I am selling it. I want to make sure that whoever I'm selling the product to also feels fuzzy inside, that it is going to last them. If you're using a hanger, you don't really have to do that, but I wanted to add this rope hanger and love the final result. Purchase these off of Amazon. They are just, you know, little hooks. You could get whatever kind of iron hooks you want. I wanted this to be able to be used for coats or jackets or a dog leash or, you know, keys. Just give extra space for their people to hang things. Finished up by drawing these in by hand, and that was it. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me today, people. Let me know in the comments below, would you make any of these DIYs for yourself, or how would you decorate your wood tea light candle holders? I love to chat. You all know that I do, that are familiar with me, so comment down below. Until next time, bye!